Hey everyone, so in today's video, I want to answer the question, is the E2 visa eligible for premium processing? Now, premium processing is an optional service available for certain cases where somebody can basically pay an additional fee to USCIS and they can get their case processed faster. In many cases, when somebody pays for premium processing, the case will get processed in 15 days. So it can be a tremendous benefit for certain people, but not all cases qualify for premium processing. So the question is the E2 visa eligible for premium processing? And again, the answer is it depends. Now, let me tell you what I mean by this. Premium processing is only available for certain cases that are filed with USCIS. Now, let's back up and talk about the E2 visa. When somebody is applying for E2, they have two options. One option is that the person can apply for an E2 visa. This is when somebody submits their documentation proving that they qualify for the E2 to a consulate or an embassy abroad outside of the United States, and they will go to that consulate or embassy for a visa interview, and upon successful completion of that visa interview, they should receive a visa stamped into their passport. Now, we will refer to that as an E2 visa. Now, the other option is for people that are in the United States lawfully. Let's say that somebody is in the United States as a visitor or as a student, and while they're in the United States, they decide that they want to switch to E2. Well, there's something that they can do called an E2 change of status. Now, the change of status is not a visa. As I mentioned earlier, a visa is something that gets stamped into your passport. And the benefit of a visa is that it allows you to enter and exit using that visa. And of course, based on the terms of that visa. And when somebody enters the United States using that E2 visa, once they get admitted to the United States, they are under E2 status. Again, that's E2 visa. When somebody applies for an E2 change of status, they do not get a visa. They get E2 status. E2 status is essentially a piece of paper that allows that person that has that E2 status to perform the activities that are authorized to somebody in E2 status. So that means that they can direct and develop their business. They can remain in the United States lawfully based on the duration of that status. And again, as I mentioned, they can direct and develop their E2 business. But again, an E2 change of status is not a visa. So nothing gets stamped into the person's passport. And if the person that just has an E2 change of status approved leaves the United States, they will likely abandon that E2 status when they leave. So that was just some basic background information. So now let's answer the question, which is the subject of this video. Is the E2 visa eligible for premium processing? Well, to answer this question, we have to kind of go back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this video, which is that premium processing is only available to certain cases that are filed with USCIS. Now, let's explore the E2 visa. When somebody applies for an E2 visa, nothing gets submitted to USCIS. The application is submitted directly to the consulate or the embassy where the E2 visa applicant will be attending their visa interview, but nothing gets submitted directly to USCIS. So for somebody that's applying for an E2 visa, that is not eligible for premium processing. Again, because there is nothing being submitted to USCIS for premium processing to even be an option. But if somebody is applying for an E2 change of status, which we talked about earlier, when somebody's in a particular status, like a visitor visa status or F1 student status, and they decided to change their status to E2, then the E2 change of status application is eligible for premium processing. And at the time of the recording of this video, the premium processing fee is $2,500. And if somebody selects premium processing, the application can be adjudicated in 15 days. Now, I want to mention a very important point. Sometimes people think, and it makes sense to think this, that if they select premium processing for their case, then the case will automatically either be approved or denied within 15 days. But unfortunately, that's not entirely true. And the reason for this is that USCIS oftentimes submits requests for additional evidence. So let's say that you submit your application for an E2 change of status, and you submit all the documents that you think you need to submit for USCIS to make a decision on the case? Well, USCIS can review all the documents and they can say, oh, we actually have a question about this, or we need more information about this. And they can submit something called a request for additional evidence. And as long as they submit that request for additional evidence within the 15-day window, then they have upheld their end of the bargain with premium processing. So as long as they issue an initial response, which could either be an approval or a denial or a request for additional evidence, then they are complying with the premium processing request. So just because you file your case with premium processing doesn't necessarily mean that you will get an approval within 15 days. Hopefully you do, but there is a chance that the case could have a request for additional evidence. Now, I know I talked about a bunch of stuff in this video. I hope you found this video helpful. Hope you learned a lot. If you know anybody that can benefit from this information, feel free to share this video with them. We're all about empowering you with knowledge. So thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.